So in this video, we are going to understand that how Docker instructions work, like from, environment, copy, WORKDIR, label, arguments, volume, user, single stop signal, and shell. Majorly we use from, WORKDIR, then copy, then usually on expose to tell about the port, CMD, and the most important run. So let's understand here the from is considering as a base OS, where we just add the base images, for example Ubuntu, and into this base image we add other packages like Python 3.0. Then you install the from Python 3.11, then Slim and other kind of images. So there are various images over there as a base image. After that, let's see environment. So environment is basically nothing, just a normal environment which we use in a local, but which we can share to the Docker file of the base image. So let's assume that we want to share a Docker version of something. Then we can add environment variable into the file, and that can be added into the base image. Then next is a WORKDIR. So it's basically directory, working directory, where our file is going to run, or wherever our file is going, it's going to get copied. It's basically working directory or current directory we can consider. If we do pwd, then we can get the same directory of once we mention into the Docker file. How do we do it? So we usually use cut. Then that is copy instruction. Into the copy instruction, we as it says, it copies the data from your local to the Docker image. It basically loads up how you want to, or which file you want to add into the Docker. So let's better understand an environment, how we use environment into the Docker file. So we basically use env as an instruction, and then we can add whatever you want to add as an environment. So how we use an environment is env, then key, whatever we want, for example version here, and the value is equal to value. So it's a key value format, and also can be add with CLI, so it can be easily override. Into the CLI we just need to add -e argument into the command during the Docker run. Okay, and we have labels. So label is nothing, just a metadata of Docker file, where we can mention that this Docker file is created on which date, or something like who created the Docker file, who is the maintainer of this Docker file. Local to the Docker image, it's a copy and add. We usually use copy, which is way easy, and as its name says, copy. So it's just copy the files from your local to the Docker image. So when we build the command of docker build, then -t file name and dot add to the end of dot, we shows that from that reference which files are going to do. So we copy files. It's a simple, that's why we use it, and it directly work whatever it says. Then we have add. It does the same, but it have additional features of unzipping the compressed file. So it's basically uncompressed or unzip the file which is into the during the file loading. So let's understand with the example that while into the copy, if there is a tile.gz file is there, so when I do the copy copy instruction, it just copies the files from your local to the image without doing anything over it. Into the add, it unzips and extract all the file data. So it's a good when we are aware about that we need to extract the files, but it will be a really mess if you are not aware about it, and there are any extractable file, so it will just create the mess of a lot of files. So we can use copy majority. Yeah, another thing is that after auto extract, it also used to download the URL. So via add, you can add the URL and there's a file path. The file will be downloaded to the specific path, so it's easy to use. Then there is another twin into the Docker family is CMD and ENTRYPOINT. So into the CMD, it's basically Docker runs it as a default command at the end, and the command is can be override easily via Docker run command and other task definition. And into the entry point, it does the same. Does the same, but it is fixed, hard to override. And also, if you want to use something that is not replaceable, then we can use entry point over there. For example, there is a command of Python main-app to run a Python app. Okay, so if I just don't want to override the Python, so I can add entry point as a Python, then the main-app as a CMD. So the last part of the command can be override easily outside of the container. Next, we are going to see. Next, we have arguments. So as the name says, it is denoted as a ARG into the Dockerfile, and arguments can be passed for build process. So for example, if you want to pass the version name, we just need to add ARG and version is equal to 1.0. It can be added via command like build -argument build -argument during the build command, and this only for the build time, and we cannot access into the container once it is given only for the build time, and also you cannot access this into the container. Once the build is over, this will be vanished. Next one is health check. Via health check, we check health checks of container. It's a pretty straightforward. By this we can check that checks containers and check. By this we can check that container is healthy or not, and if it fails, Docker consider it as unhealthy and restarts it. So let's see that how we can write health check. So during the health check, we can write we can add interval of, for example, 30, 20 to 80 seconds, whatever we want to add. Then timeout will be 5 seconds. Timer will be 5 seconds. The retries will be 3, and then we need to add command via CMD, that which command it will going to check the health checkpoint. In that we need to add curl. Then if it fails, we need to check it fails or not. Then you can add localhost, or you can add your domain. So it can be your domain over there. That's how we can use health check. Now let's understand run. So run is the most used instruction into the Docker file. So the copy, run, and these are the most used one for the basic non-optimized Docker file. What run does, run execute anything on the build time. So whatever we write, for example, we want to update anything, update the OS, base OS, then we need to run any command. So it's run as considered as a layer. After copying file, for example, you copied the requirement.txt, then you run the command of pip install requirement.txt. By this, all the dependencies into the requirement.txt get installed. So run is basically a cache. It creates a layer. Each run creates a layer of cache. So more run if you use it creates heavy image. So it's always better to use less run commands compared to multiple run commands. So it's a best practice to use single run command to add all your installation dependencies. Then we have volume. Volume is usually the same as we use into the Docker command. Into the Docker command, Docker-v, then localhost and app data. Or also we have used into the Docker compose as a -- volume. It's better into the compose or the CMD as it's less flexible into the Docker image as an instruction. So it's better to use outside of it. That's why it's less visible into the normal Docker images. The last, we have not mostly used Docker instruction, which is stop signal. It's basically to stop Docker container. If we want to stop by purposefully, we can add a stop signal. Then there is a sing term, then sing init, and there are 4 total ways to use it. Basically, the sing term is the default one, where Docker get graceful shutdown. Rather than those, there is sing term, sing int, sing quit, and sing quit. So one is the grateful shutdown, one is to interrupt, third is to quit and dump the container, and fourth one is to kill directly without any warning or anything. It won't be graceful shutdown. The last one is shell. So shell is basically used to change the default shell when we install or use the from as a base OS. At that moment, the default shell, for example, it's a Ubuntu image, and different shell can be bash, or it can be any sh. So if you want to use bash, then we can add specifically shell, and after that the run command will use the bash shell afterwards. It's not that much in use, but it can be good to know that this is also one of the instructions. So that's all. We have seen all the instruction. We will looking forward to see more deep dives into the Docker, and see you around. Thank you.